Hello and welcome to Illuminations with Tiina and Fi, for you who desires a life of joy. I'm Tiina.
I'm Fi.
So, second episode for the attachment series. And last time we kind of talked about what attachment theory is and why it's relevant, why we're actually talking about it. And we had quite a lot of focus on anxious attachment because of me sharing my own story. So we thought we'd kind of look at a little bit more about avoidant attachment style. Fi, I'll just let you.
Thank you, Tiina.
Give you free rein.
Yes, so it used to be a standing joke that I had my trainers ready and I would put my trainers on and run. And that's that avoidance side of me. And it is interesting. I've now realised that I did have a relationship with an avoidant attachment as well, and that was definitely interesting. Allowed a lot of space, you know, but in its own, well, it ended because I think the avoidance took the better of both of us. So that was just to reflect on that. So my present relationship, my partner is definitely anxious attachment and knows that. So I'm not telling tales. And so for much of our previous early stages in life together, I would be, anytime, partner got needy, I would then start to, move away, which of course then my partner would get needy and then I'd move away. And I think what was interesting is us talking, because I think in the early stages of our relationship, I was anxiously attached. Now I'm going to throw in another question here because, as you know, I had just lost a relationship, there's a language, but it had ended at my home and then my mum. So I wonder whether grief maybe gets in the way sometimes, because the way I behaved was very anxiously attached, but that starts to make sense now when I think about it, just literally off the top of my head now, because I'm thinking, well, am I more anxiously? But actually I'm very typically avoidant, as you know, the minute people get close, I kind of move away. But I've organized all my friendships around this. So I have friends that, I see once a week, twice a month, once every 3 months, and they all get booked in and it's all fine, and it all suits, and now I begin to realize, of course, that just matches in beautifully in with and I have actually had a lot of very close friendships that I have walked away from with people quite upset with me, and they were obviously more anxiously attached, but I can start to see now what my behavior has been. People have got too close, and it's really hard to explain, isn't it? Because it sounds so lunacy when you talk about it in a logical way, but people get too close, and I've obviously kind of gone, right, that's enough. Now there are some friendships that have definitely got under the wire on that, and I've got some friendships that have lasted 30 years, so it's not all with everybody. So I have to think about what those friendships are and how they work. That might be interesting. So my present partner and I, we've worked really hard. There's a work hard driver. We've actually worked really hard together I think we didn't realise, but to move it more into a secure attachment. So I think through working with my clients and, our friendship and writing our book, I've learned loads about how I want to be. And I hadn't put it together that actually by becoming more the better version of me, if there is a version, or being my divine self without the lies, that, actually that's probably, like you said, it's helped, the writer said it's helped me to be able to be more securely attached, because the anxious side is definitely gone. That it kicks off a little bit. The avoidant is still probably a little bit there, but I'm now more aware of it and I can talk to myself about it. But it is really quite interesting. It's like, so I like, for example, I was saying to you, there's a guy called Gottman, and he has these amazing videos, and I'll do it as a nugget. And he talks about, he's now got these quite clear predictors on how relationships will survive. And he can predict it from literally the year you get married, or live together or whatever. And so I just picked out a few that I started to go, oh my goodness, of course, that's what's starting to change. So being gentle with each other, even if there's an issue. So as you were saying, instead of going into the drama, which I grew up with very much, I will literally say to my partner, I'm stepping out of the drama now. I'm moving over here and I'll physically move. Thank you to all my learning. And I love that. We go more into love and compassion, you know, and he will also use words with me like, well, what would be more kind here, Fi? Knowing that's a good trigger for me because I want to be more kind than right. So it's very gentle, taking responsibility for showing up and saying, do you know this, I didn't get this right. And I'm getting much better at that with the old ego. Interesting in how their world is and how you might contribute to it. And I love this ability to repair. And I love that, you know, that kind of genuine, let's make this better, let's repair it, let's let go, let's surrender, you know, accept. And, you know, and I think he talks about the key elements being knowing, and I think of you and that me and our relationship, you know, knowing our dreams, what we hope for, you know, what we dream of, sharing our purpose and making our meanings intentional and shared. And that's the bit of tension still with my own romantic relationship. I think about my relationship with you, and that's what it's always been about. You know my dream, you share it, you support me on it, you know, it's magical. So yeah, there you go.
Excellent. Thank you.
Done.
Thank you.
I've showed up now.
And I want to say to people, I didn't force people, I didn't force feed to
No, it's helpful to show that avoidant, that, you know, I literally have moved away physically as well as emotionally within a relationship. Yeah.
So what I read about avoidant, you can see if this resonates with you, is that once you start feeling, and I'm not saying you as a Fi and you, but as an avoidant person, is there a sense of, oh, this is getting too close, I'm not having my independence, there must be something wrong with the other person, this is not the right relationship for me. Instead of realizing actually it's just my need for independence, and this actually happens in every single relationship. Okay, so maybe I need to communicate. And I think communication, I mean, almost everything we talk about here is like communication and kind communication without blame. And I think with the anxiously attached, it's the inability to communicate wants and needs. And then it gets to a point when you have to communicate it. And then the frustration and sadness and disappointment is so huge, literally, that it just comes out aggressively or blamey, or, you know, and then of course that drives the other person away because they're like, what is going on? You haven't mentioned any of this.
That's
and the anxious the anxiously attached person absolutely expects that there to be mind reading. You know, anxiously attached, you go into helpful. So you go into a relationship and you think, of course the other person will understand. No, they won't. I know they won't. I've tried it. They're not mind readers, you know. So it can,
that's very helpful. That's very helpful. And you know, that does make sense. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if someone then behaves like that, I'm like, I probably get then, what the hell's going on, because I don't really understand this. Oh, sod it. I'm off.
Why should I?
You know, what's going on, really? You know, I'm off. Even if that kind of withdrawal, that's very interesting. That explains
and stuff. Interestingly enough, so the avoidantly attached person is like, well, this is not the relationship with me, and for me this is that person is mental. You know, whereas the anxiously attached person, in the moment of an argument, will go, I'll show you. I'm gonna, that's what goes on in your head. But after the anxiously attached person has calmed down, they will only see the positive in the avoidant person. They will only kind of it will be the rose tinted glasses on, and they will forget everything that might not be, because then they kind of take it personally, like it was probably me and my fault. It was my neediness that made this happen. So they can't objectively see it, that it kind of becomes the kind of, I'm beating myself up, and the other person is wonderful. And from the other side, it's the other way around. So it's just interesting to know, and it just clarifies things, and kind of once, both like for you and me, for example, or in you and your relationship, and me in my future relationship, romantic relationship, and even with my child or my mum or whoever. Once both parties know about this, it takes the conversation to a different level. You can actually start using the language of, you know what, this situation is triggering me. Can I ask you? So for me as an anxious, can I just ask you, when you travel, just send me a text, because then I don't have to chase you, and then you feel like I'm nagging you and being overly needy. So if you just send that one text saying, hey babe, I'm good, all is good, I can relax, and then you can have your independence, because there's no need for me to then call you and call you and call you and call you. So it can simplify things, and everyone can just breathe and just live, just be. So
what time are we on?
We've got a few more minutes.
So another really amazing person, Diane Poole Heller, I follow her as well. She's either a psychotherapist coach or psychoanalyst, but she does this attachment mastery program, and she's wonderful. If you want to go and follow her, she's fantastic. And she talks about disorganized attachment, which is another element, another concept. And she talks about that relationships are triggered for unresolved trauma from childhood, relational trauma from childhood. And, it's about childhood state. So she looks at how you can, work with or be with someone who is disorganized. So disorganized styles may feel fed to the lions instead of protected by one or other parent, So you can see that slightly more a traumatized version of an anxious state, anxious attachment, which I think probably now they're learning more about that trauma side of growing, and they may not have appropriate defenses or radar for danger, and may stay in non-supportive or abusive relationships. So I think it's important we mention that, because sometimes people go, well, why did they stay? And it's often because of their attachment, and people don't really understand that. They go, I don't get it. Although they don't get it, because they wouldn't maybe be this kind of deep end of anxious attachment, which is kind of more disorganized.
Yeah.
And so, they often in flight or fight, and it's a whole process of working with those people or help them. They do really probably need someone to guide with them so that they can learn to be more calm. And then, of course, we have a whole load of stuff around self-worth attached in, but it is because of that kind of relational trauma in childhood. So I think that's just worth mentioning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll put another name in there, Bessel van der Kolk, with his trauma stuff, and how actually trauma, and I think this is also very important. So there's the attachment, and then in trauma that there's actual physical changes in your brain. So because you are in fight or flight all the time, and you are cautious. I mean, it's a different state of being and operating from, and it's can be difficult for others to understand. But that is definitely help needed there. Then
and he does amazing work, doesn't he? He does a lot of body work, somatic kind of work. Very incredible. I watch him on another woman who I can't remember her name, Ruth something or other. He does a lot of work with her around trauma, and how to work with trauma. So there's some great stuff out there.
Oh,
but I do think I agree that the understanding is what's really helped me. It's so helped me in so many ways, with friendships, you know, with working partnerships, with my own, because I probably would have walked out of this relationship by now. You know that, you know, I would have gone, this is it, I've had enough. But actually what I've decided was that this is the place to learn, and this is a safe relationship to learn within. So I am, you know, and you know, that's important for me at this time, is to really start to learn how I can actually, you know, move my attachment into more secure, if that's the language, through these elements. And a lot of the other themes we run and look at are those elements, you know.
Yeah. Brilliant. It's been wonderful 2 episodes, I think, and I really hope that the viewer has got a sense of understanding what attachment is, what adult attachment is, and what they themselves what patterns they might be playing out in their lives. And as you say, understanding is key, and then you can move from there. Definitely. So, as usual, if you've enjoyed this episode, let us know. Let us know that you enjoyed it, so that we know that what you're after, and share it with others. Why not? Or even make a comment. So, until next time with nuggets, be well. Bye now.
Bye now.